When we look at cognitive development in early childhood, the two main theorists we're going to look at are Piaget and Vygotsky. And Piaget is the pre-operational stage. He proposed that kids between the ages of 2 and 7 go through this stage of development. You'll see that they're starting to have organized thought, but it's usually pretty flawed. At this stage, it's starting with primitive symbols or words, and it's shifting to more sophisticated symbols. Some errors in thinking that you're going to see is in children of this age is egocentrism. This looks very selfish, if you will. It's basically they see the world through their own eyes and they expect that everyone else is also going to see the world that way. We'll have a lot of different videos online that have great examples of these errors in thinking and his stages. So make sure that you check those out. Animism is a attempt to give something that is inanimate, so a teddy bear or a stuffed animal, something like that, lifelike abilities that they're capable of action. For example, I've seen little kids blame the rug that they tripped over as the rug tripped them. You know, it's an inanimate object, but they're giving it lifelike power to trip them. This is one of the biggest errors that you'll see is that kids will only focus on one aspect or one characteristic of an object. So they won't necessarily see the big picture when it comes to how long, or I'm sorry, like in the video, they show a little girl that's focusing on a line of quarters. The number of quarters is exactly the same, but they spread them out farther. So she's looking at the distance, the length of all of the quarters versus, same number at shorter. So that is definitely an error that you'll see. And that's a video that you guys do want to watch. It's really cute, actually. Conservation is when they do not necessarily see that changing a image or appearance does not change its basic properties like quantity. So for example, Play-Doh, rolling Play-Doh into a snake versus into a ball, they might look at the snake as longer. And this also doesn't have the centration, this is exhibited by centration. So they're only looking at one thing, and they also don't see that it can go from snake to ball, which would be the reversibility. So lots of errors in thinking. When we look at the zone of proximal development, we're looking at Vygotsky's theory, and he believed that kids lived within this zone of proximal development. The upper level is what they can do with assistance, and the lower level is what they can do with independently. So you'll see this be reading, it could be physical activity, it could be anything. It just really demonstrates how well people support them, parents support them, teachers support them, and they do that through scaffolding. Scaffolding is changing that level of support so that it is appropriate to what the child's activity is. So if you adjust it to their current performance level, it's a great opportunity for learning. Language development is going to be basically happening at an explosive level at this stage. They don't necessarily are able to say everything that they think. They're understanding, their mind is working faster than their words. They often get frustrated with this. You're going to see a giant vocabulary growth, anywhere from 8,000 to 14,000 words at a 6-year-old level. So they're learning anywhere from 5 to 8 words a day. So lots of language going on. And along with that is education. So preschool or daycare with a cognitive component. It's important when you look at education for young kids that it has a social, emotional, as well as cognitive piece to it. It has to be something that is appropriate for their developmental level. Otherwise, it's not really doing anything for them. So hands-on, concrete type of learning is what's best. And so then you start thinking preschool. Does preschool matter? We definitely know that preschool does matter for adequate development as much as, unless you truly focus on homeschooling at the preschool age, kids do need to have, someone who is educated, who is appropriately credentialed, who is committed, who has the time, the energy and resources, all of those things. And I'll be honest, as much as I love my kids and I am an educator, I was not the right person for that. I didn't have that credential. I don't have the teaching that is especially for children of this age. They need to be exposed to children and other adults and also have a lot of time for play. Play is huge. So you have to look at it, does preschool matter? It really depends on what the kids can provide. I'm sorry, what the parents can provide versus what the preschool can provide.